Welcome students. Today we will be starting with chapter 5 accounting ratios, in which we will be studying what is the meaning of ratio analysis, what is their objective and significance, and how to calculate the ratios. So, let us start with the meaning first. Ratio analysis is a relation between two numbers which are related to each other and expressed as a fraction, percentage or number of times. Sometime we say this much percentage and sometime we say this number of times, and this is for a meaningful comparison. Now, meaningful comparison means you can derive any meaningful comparison between two items if they are related to each other. Like, there is no meaningful comparison between purchase of goods and purchase of furniture, because they are not related to each other. So, what is the objective of ratio analysis? First of all, to locate the areas which need more attention, and then to improve those areas, and to make projections about future also. And then there should be a deeper analysis of profitability, liquidity and solvency, etc. Let us start with advantages of ratio analysis. First advantage is it improves the user's understanding about the financial statements. Second, it also helps in understanding the problem areas, that is where the problem really lies. Next, it helps in improvement of the problem areas. Next, it helps in understanding the efficiency of the business decisions, that is how far we are able to achieve our targets which were fixed in advance. It helps in simplifying the complex figures. Next, it enables SWOT analysis. Now, what do you mean by SWOT? Strength, weakness, opportunity, threat analysis. And in the end, it will help in inter-firm comparison and intra-firm comparison. Inter means within the firm and intra means outside the firm. Let us start with limitation of ratio analysis. Any weakness in the financial statement will also weaken the analysis part also. The first limitation is that limitation is according to accounting data. As financial statements are based upon facts, figures, estimate and different accounting policies adopted in preparing the financial statement. So, they may not give true and fair view about the real thing. Now, this is going to affect ratio analysis part also. Next limitation is it ignores price level changes. As accounting is historical cost based, so it ignores the inflationary effects. Next, it ignores non-monetary aspects also. We only record monetary things in accounting. So, the qualitative part and non-monetary part effects are ignored in ratio analysis also. Next limitation is there is a variation in accounting policies for stock valuation, depreciation and treatment of intangible asset, etc. So, they also affect the ratio analysis part. Next, forecasting future on the basis of old data is actually not a very good idea, as conditions of past changes in future and there are so many other factors, but still let us assume this fact that going in dark is always better than a candle in your hand. Moreover, ratio analysis has some more limitations, like these are the means and not the end results. Next, there is a lack of universally accepted accounting standards which affect the ratio analysis. Ratio is only an indicator of the problem, but it is not a problem solver on its own. It just tells you where the problem is. So, you have to devise some other way to tackle that problem. Now, there are many types of ratios, but they are classified generally on two bases. First is traditional classification and the next is functional classification. According to traditional classification, we can divide the ratio in three parts: income statement ratio, which are related to P&L account, balance sheet ratio, which is related to balance sheet, and composite ratio, which are related to both of them, that is profit and loss as well as balance sheet. And according to functional classification, we can divide ratio analysis in four parts. First, liquidity ratios, which tells us about the ability to meet short term liabilities. Solvency ratios, which tells us about the ability to meet long term liabilities. The third one is activity, that is turnover ratios, which tells us about the efficiency of the business operations. And the last one is profitability ratio, which is an analysis of profit with respect to sales or the assets. So, let us start with liquidity ratio first. It gives us the indication about the short term solvency of the business, that is, whether the firm will be able to meet the current obligations or not. There are two important ratios under this category. First is current ratio and next is liquid ratio. Let us start with the current ratio. The formula is current assets upon current liabilities. What is the significance of this ratio? It tells us about the adequacy of current assets to pay back the current liabilities in time. The ideal ratio suggested by the industry is 2:1, that is, current assets should be twice the current liabilities. Now, a very high ratio means your more money is blocked, that is, underutilization of assets is there. You are keeping lot of money to pay the current liabilities, which is not good for the financial health of the company. And a lower ratio indicate that firm is always at a risk of not making the payment in time to current liability, which can in turn lead to the insolvency of the firm and a bad name for the firm. The next ratio in this line is quick ratio, which is quick asset upon current liability. Now, let us understand what is quick asset. All the current assets minus stock and minus prepaid expenses is equal to quick assets. Now, this ratio is sometimes called acid test ratio. The ideal ratio suggested is 1:1. Let us do some questions on these two ratios first. Let us start with the question: calculate current and quick ratio from the following: stock 50,000, cash 40,000, bill receivable 35,000 and debtors 25,000. Now, all these are current assets and creditor 40,000 and bill payable 10,000 are current liability. So, let us total them. Current asset is equal to 50,000 plus 40,000 plus 35,000 plus 25,000 makes it a total of 1,50,000, whereas quick asset will be 1,50,000 minus 50,000 stock, because there is no prepaid expense. So, that makes it 1,00,000 and current liability is 40,000 creditors and 10,000 bill payable, making it 50,000. Now, the current ratio is 3:1 and quick ratio is 2:1. I hope you can divide. Let us do another question with some variation. Suppose current ratio given is 3.5:1 and quick ratio is given 2:1. Now, you know the current asset and quick asset difference is stock and prepaid expense, but if nothing is given for prepaid expense, it is always stock, and if stock is 24,000, we have to calculate current asset, quick asset and current liability. Now, how to start with this question? Let us assume current liability as x, which makes current asset as 3.5x and quick asset as 2x. Now, current asset minus stock is equal to quick asset, that you know. So, current asset is 3.5x minus stock is 24,000 is equal to 2x, which makes 1.5x is equal to 24,000 and x will be equal to 16,000. Now, what was x? It was current liabilities 16,000. So, now multiply this by 3.5 to get current assets, that is 56,000, and multiply by 2 to get quick asset, that is 32,000. Let us start another question with some other variation. If current ratio is 2:1, following will improve, reduce or not change it. Now, you have to think in your mind whether this transaction is going to improve the ratio, reduce the ratio or have no effect. Let us start thinking. Purchase of goods on credit, will it reduce, improve or have no change? Think about it. Yes, there will be no change. Oh no, there will be a change. Yes, what change? Yes, it will reduce the ratio. Why? Because when we purchase goods on credit, our current asset will increase and current liability will also increase, but by the same amount. So, then the effect will be reducing the ratio. You can calculate it by assuming some figures. Now, let us think about payment of dividend. Yes, will it reduce, increase or not? Yes, it will also reduce, because when we pay dividend, cash is going out. Is there any effect on the current liabilities? No. So, the ratio is reducing. So, you can assume some figures and do these questions. Let us start with another one. If we pay the bill payable, what will happen? The amount will be reduced from both current assets as well as current liability, but the same amount. So, it will increase the ratio. And what about sale of fixed asset? Only cash is coming in, current asset is increasing. So, there is an increase in ratio. And let us see one more. What about sale of rupees 20,000 goods for rupees 25,000? Now, goods current assets 20,000 is subtracted and cash 25,000 is added. So, something more is coming in. So, that increase current asset. So, it increase the ratio. So, that is how you can calculate by assuming some figures and thinking in your mind. Let us have another variation of this ratio. Current asset 6 lakh, current liability 4 lakh, making it a current ratio of 1.5:1. If the accountant want that this ratio should be 2:1 by paying some current liability, we have to calculate what is that amount. Let us assume we pay x. So, 6 lakh minus x upon 4 lakh minus x should be equal to 2 upon 1. By cross multiplying, you will get x as 2 lakh. So, if we pay 2 lakh, it will be 2:1. Let us verify. 6 lakh minus 2 lakh is 4 lakh and 4 lakh minus 2 lakh is 2 lakh and 4 upon 2 is 2:1, hence proved. So, today we have learnt about ratio analysis, advantages, objectives and one section, that is liquidity ratio. In our next class, we will be starting with solvency ratio in the same chapter. Till then, goodbye and thank you.